Welcome all for second edition of our webinar series. Webinar 2.0 was started on 2nd June, inaugurated by Mr. Ravi DC, Chief Facilitator of and Managing Director of DC Books. These webinars are conducted for the benefits of our students, get a chance to interact with eminent personalities and to broaden their knowledge, skills, as well as their understanding of their field of interest. DC School of Management and Technology and DC School of Architecture and Design is promoted by DC Kirakimuri Foundation and co-promoted by DC Books, has two campuses located in Trivandrum and Vagaman, Kerala, India. The role that I am to play here is to welcome all the participants for today's function. So let me start by welcoming our chief guest for today's webinar. On behalf of DCS family, welcome you, Madam Siva Priya Balagopal. She is the General Manager, Product Development R&D with Eastern Continent Private Limited. Next, I welcome Mr. Ravi DC, Chief Facilitator of DC School and Managing Director of DC. Next, I welcome Dr. Ramachandran, Dean of School of Management, Architect Syriac TM, Dean of School of Architecture, Dr. Srikanth SV, Director and Principal, Architect Shankar, Principal of Architecture, panel members, all faculty members of Vagaman and Trivandrum campus, friends and alumni, and all DCs for today's webinar. There will be question and answer session after the speech. Student can send your question directly to panel members, that is to Professor Sanal Kumar and Professor Neeraj Untitled, or you can ask questions directly by asking panel members to open your mic and video. Then now I welcome our chief guest, Madam Siva Priya Balagopal, to deliver keynote address to us.
Madam, it's over to you. Actually, I suppose Professor Geetika Susan Jacob had some bandwidth issues. Extremely sorry for that. Yeah, over to you.
Not a problem. Madam. Yeah. Yes. So very good morning to all of you. And I thank the DC MAT institution and the corporate relation manager, Ms. Asha Fen, for giving me this opportunity to interact with the students. Let me start on with the presentation. I think my introduction has already been given. I'm the General Manager heading Product Development and R&D with Eastern. I was also associated with the Indian Women Network, which is part of the CII, where I volunteered my services for quite a long time, and I still continue to do so. I was the chairwoman the last 2 years. And in my career span, I have also had the opportunity of being a corporate trainer for a short stint, and it was a very gratifying period of my career life where I had a lot of interactions with students and corporates and institutions, government institutions, and I enjoyed my role of delivering training sessions. My key topics were on time management, work-life balance, and stress management, though I'm a food technologist by profession. So I'll go on with today's topic that I wanted to share with the students. Let me just start with my presentation. Yes. So give me a minute. I hope all the students have logged in. Yeah, I have been seeing actually a lot of flyers of a number of lecture series being organized for all of you students from various industry experts and some very illustrious personalities. Ms. Asha Fen and I, we share a common group where I see these flyers being posted. And I'm sure that it has been very enlightening. having all these diverse perspectives from different leaders and personalities. And when I was thinking of what message that I would like to convey to you, I thought of things that I wished I said to my 20-year-old self, to my younger self in my early 20s, like how you all of you students are in now. And which is why I called the topic time travel, where I'm going back in time to my early 20s. And that was a long time back, actually. I also did a little bit of homework. I spoke to a couple of students your age and also a few of my trainees who I have worked with earlier, who are now working professionals. And I felt when I had this discussion and when I thought about how I was at your age, I felt we were on the same crossroad. All of the thoughts were on the similar line, except only one thing being different is that we have the pandemic now, which was not there at the time when I was in college or a fresher, and so with my trainees. So my topic is going to be revolved around these things. We'll address these concerns. I'm sure some of these concerns uh, are the same that are probably in your mind too. This very unprecedented moment has brought about uncertainty. Has the slide moved on? I just wanted to check.
It is moving. It is moving.
Okay, all right.
Uncertainty, job success.
Yes, all right. So yeah, so this is probably what's going on in all of your minds with this current scenario. The pandemic has brought a lot of uncertainty, and all of us at this age, even without the pandemic, we are just at the brink of, when we're stepping out. I understand these are freshers and some second year students who are attending the webinar today. So maybe your concerns are around placements. Are we going to get well placed? Are we going to get smart internships? How is the job scenario looking for us? And some of us may have still not thought about these things or still not clear about these things and maybe a little bit confused, not clear still. Some of us might be thinking, success is what we're looking at after we finish our course with the college. We're looking at success in our lives. And this question, okay, how do we separate ourselves from others is also probably something that's going on in your mind. In the sense, when this was one of the thoughts that even came out from a student your age, and what is meant is not about distancing from others. It's not about distancing yourself from others, but it's about how do you set yourself apart? How do you set yourself apart from others? I mean, you have, there are with each year, there are thousands of students churning out, thousands of management professionals, thousands of engineering professionals, thousands of in food technology professionals from my space domain. So each year there are thousands of students graduating and with good scores. At the same time, each year is also bringing about institutions, number of institutions training these students and graduates are also increasing on one hand. And what's happening in the industry? The industry is also having a lot of changes. There's a lot of technology-driven processes that are happening now. All of you know about the advent of AI and robotics and digitalization. And unfortunately, at this current scenario we are in, there is also a manpower crunching that organizations are looking at. So you need to really think about this question a lot more deeper. Okay, you're one among a sea, and how do we equip ourselves? How do we position ourselves? How do we separate ourselves, distinguish ourselves from others, and stand out? Which will be, though the font size that I've used for this line here is small, I think this is a very important question, and it is something important for all of you to address during your course of education before you step out into the corporate world. So the first one would be carving your niche. Okay, the carving your niche. Niche is a segment, a specialized segment, a specialized area. How do we separate ourselves from others is definitely about creating a niche for yourself, whether it is business or a product or a service. What people are looking at is about standing apart from your competition, right? You're looking at a niche segment. You're looking at something different. And that's exactly the case with you as well, as a person as well. Branding yourself and carving your niche is very, very important. So it is about niche is about expertise. How do you become an expert? You become an expert by specializing yourself in some particular area and positioning yourself. So how do you go about this? How do you go about specializing? Like, for example, I would be able to talk about my space of work. When I finished my graduation, it was a broader broader topic. It was on food service management. So food service management involves a lot of things, a lot of areas. And at that point, at that brink, I had the option of entering into the food industry. And I also had the opportunity of getting into the hospital industry, where being in the field of a dietitian or a nutrition expert. So I had to make a clear-cut decision at that time. And I decided that looking at the way the industry was growing, the food industry was growing, and the opportunities that were coming up for us, I thought it was interesting. It was an interesting space to be. And particularly, I was a creative person. So I started using that as my base. I thought that I should definitely be in the space of innovation, of product development, because where I could use the skill of mine of creativity. So similarly, I think all of you need to think about specializing now. Okay, it may be if it is management, what area of management would you want to be in, and which industry is most compatible to that for you. So it is very, very important that you do research. And again, here your interests play a role, your passion play a role, and the industry prospects play a role. So thinking about this at this point of time is quite important and critical. And specialization is always gives you an added edge. It gives you an added edge because you become almost, you're creating that, getting into creating that niche and expertise in that particular area. How does one carve this niche? What are the ways by which we can build our expertise or build our specialization? I'll just give you common tips on those things. One is, of course, the basic is building your knowledge in that space. You cannot work on just your personality alone. You can't rely on your personality alone to get a job. It has got to be your knowledge also. You've got to know your knowledge about your subject. And another thing is, do not forget, while we all equip ourselves with our knowledge skills, do not forget the basics. I very often see people in my in my working experience. I've seen a lot of them with vast degrees. Okay, they have big degrees. They have learned a lot. They have very high scores. They have high GPA, but they don't know the basics. For example, I'm just again giving you something that I can relate with my domain of space. If I'm a food technologist and if I don't know the basic of what a calorie means, then there's just no point in me saying I'm a postgraduate or I have these these degrees to my credit. So it is important that while you're learning now, as you are all accumulating this mass information, please don't forget the basics. Write them down in a book, maybe, because as you grow older, our knowledge seems to fail, memory seems to fail. So maybe now create a small handbook with all those basics of industry jargon and tips that you're getting in your during your course of education. Now, the next thing I want to emphasize on is comprehension and understanding. Now, this is something that I've also seen a lot, as a hindrance in people growing in their career. You may be technically equipped, you may be technically sound, your knowledge may be very good, but comprehension and understanding may be a language barrier. That is a problem for you. And this is something that is also going to be very, very critical in your role when you're carving your niche. If you have all these technical skills, but if you're not able to comprehend a question or a query from the leadership or the management or a customer or some client you're dealing with, or during an audit service, this whole process of you going through your getting your degree doesn't become it doesn't become important. I'd like to give an example here. Uh, there was a recent laboratory audit. I head the Innovation Center, and we have a lot of certifications and accreditations that to enhance the performance of the laboratory. And I have experts in the team, and there is a person who is very technically sound and who has got a good experience working in has worked in good industries, has come out from a very premium institution. And on the onset of the auditor was asking some questions which were not be able to comprehend by this particular person. And within 10 minutes of the audit process, the auditor gave me a call and said, ma'am, this audit is not going to go, if it's going to go, a very long, a lengthy process, and I need somebody to assist this person because he's not able to understand. So within that short period of time, the auditor is already making assumptions of this person, even without knowing that he is equipped for his role. But just on the fact that he was not able to understand the questions being put out. So comprehending and understanding is something very important. I would urge all of you to take time to build your language skills. How you can build your language skills: reading, listening to people, listen to talks. These are the ways by which you can build your own comprehension and understanding and language skills and work on this. This is a very competitive world, and you don't want to be losing out on something as simple as this. Having a good attitude is always, I think you would have heard, or many of the leaders give you this, and many of your teachers from your institution telling you about having a good attitude, which is very important at your job. Being open to things, being positive and open to things, it just gives you a whole different personality, pleasing personality, and a person who, the company is interested to invest in. Try new things. This is also something that you can do to enhance you, to carve your own niche. Try new things, upskill, and learn new things. Today I am learning a lot of things today at this point of time, and I wish I had started them earlier, because believe me, at my age of life, time is a constraint, because we are juggling a lot of roles. I'm juggling roles of being a leader of a team. There are work pressures, there are pressures at home, there are the other organizations that I'm associated with. So time is definitely not so much in hand as it was when I was your age. So please make use of the time you have. Spend some time learning things. There's a lot of, with the current scenario, a lot of things have been offered digitally, and also a lot of courses are being slashed down and made available for learning. So make use of these opportunities and try to upskill, learn new things. For example, you may want to earn something added to your degree. You are a management professional, but today blockchain technology is something that's emerging. Maybe you would want to learn or take a course on that particular subject. So those are ways by which you can carve your niche. In the organization, once they hire you, once you are hired for a job, provide value. If you are responsible for a particular task, be that expert the company turns to for that particular area. Provide value. And when you're providing value, always embrace data. This is something that I strongly believe. It is a personal principle for me, because don't talk out of your head. There are facts, there are figures, there is data right in front of you. Use data to, provide value. Use data to interpret things, provide value thoughts to the organization that you're working with. For example, again, I'd like to say, supposing a person is in charge of, in the organization, a person is in charge of tracking the sales data, okay, sales figures, the sales of the products and services of the company. And if his task was to generate an MIS, a monthly or a weekly MIS, if a person is just going to give those in spreadsheets, okay, and he's a professional, He has financial expertise, he has management expertise, and if he's going to just give that data as just numbers, what is the point? I can ask a computer to do it tomorrow. I can depend on technology to give these spreadsheets. There are applications, there are systems that are throwing up this data without the need for me to have a person giving this. But supposing you are interpreting the data. Supposing you're interpreting the data to the management and saying, hey, this is a trend that we're observing in this particular area. We are seeing a downward trend or we are seeing an upward trend. This particular product has started performing slightly better than what it was last year. If you're able to interpret that data and provide information, see, that's the way of bringing value. That's the way you're bringing value. And God forbid today we don't know. There are people looking at space tourism today. We don't want technology to advance so much where the robot starts interpreting things. That would be really dangerous for us. So I think you should start thinking of these things when you are creating your niche. And when we hire, why does management hire experts? Management hires experts to get this particular data, get this particular information, and get value, get this kind of value. If he's going to seek it from 5 other people, then the purpose of you in that organization doesn't become relevant. So again, let me just run through of the things that you can do to carve your niche, build your knowledge, do not forget the basics, work on your comprehension and understanding skills, have a good attitude, try new things, upskill, learn new things, provide value, and embrace data. And another important thing, very, very important thing, which I missed, and I want to reiterate it now, is solution to problems. Again, we don't call experts to just come out and say, hey, this is happening. This is a glitch. This is a block. We're not calling experts to just identify them. We're calling experts to provide value, solutions, and fix those problems. Hey, this issue is coming up. These are ways by which we can help resolve the problem. That is what they're looking at. And so be very, very solution oriented. Think about it. Don't fear of whether it may be wrong. It may be a wrong idea. It may be an idea that may not materialize, but don't hesitate to work out and come out with those solutions and speak out on those solutions. Now, the next one is something that is again very, very important, and which I thought I would have loved to say this more to myself when I was in my 20s, in my early 20s. Push yourself, push yourself. I mean, you would have heard teachers say this. You hear coaches in sports tell you, right? Push yourself, push yourself. Now, I just wanted to share something. I had shared this also with the students that I interacted with from DCMAT some time back. I am a science professional, and I have art in my spare time, and I'm an artist in spare time. And with the onset of the pandemic, when things were getting very stressful, we were working from home and lockdowns, and I just thought I'd learn something totally new. I thought I'd just try something totally new, and I enrolled for online Kathak classes. And it was very strange. I mean, at my age, and my family my daughters were asking, are you sure you want to do this now? And I said, yeah, why not? I just want to try something where it takes my mind off the current, the current stress that we're going through. I just want a space to do something different and something new. And my teacher in the Kathak class, she always says this, when there are challenging things to do in the dance, the dance involves spinning and a lot of footwork. And she always says, push yourself, Priya. And I think we are lucky, maybe our parents do it, maybe our teachers do it. But what happens when these people are not around? What happens when these people are not around in our life? We need to do this. We need to push ourselves on our own. And believe me, a lot of us, I think, work in our comfort zones. We don't challenge ourselves enough. We don't step out of that comfort zone. Today we say, okay, I'm having this many assignments. I'm having this much projects to do. I don't have the time. I don't want to push myself for anything extra. But believe me, once you stretch yourself beyond your comfort zone, that's where the magic happens. That's where the challenges happen. That's where the the adrenaline happens, the adrenaline drive happens. And that's when you start realizing you are able to do newer things and achieve newer milestones in life, you get a lot of confidence, self-confidence builds up in you. So stepping out of your comfort zone and taking opportunities is very, very important. Don't say no to opportunities, especially in your early phases of life. In your once you step into your job, once you are in now in college, if the teacher is giving you a task of maybe comparing for a show, or he's assigning you a particular duty, take those opportunities. Likewise at work, don't say, okay, I came for this role, I don't want to do any other thing. I'm just thinking, that's not going to help you. That attitude is not going to help you. Opportunities are actually, it's a doorway to professional growth, I would say, and it is a catalyst for developing self-confidence. It might seem a little frightful at first, but once you have accomplished it, it becomes easier to do, and then you become a natural. So if it means 10 minutes of, and you can set small targets. If it means 10 minutes of waking up early to fit in an exercise, 5 minutes of staying back in class, summing up the notes, if it means 5 minutes of daily reading, 10 minutes of cutting down, what we do, the scrolling, internet scrolling, and replacing it with something more meaningful. I think those small things make a difference. So push yourself, and you have a lot of time in your hands. Believe me, you won't have this time later on once you start your family, once you start, your careers in full swing. You may not have this much of time in your hands, and I would really encourage all of you to use your time wisely now. And it can be small things. I think 10 minutes of small changes is not going to be a big thing now, but it'll be a big thing for you later on, because you would have mastered something as something as confidence, as something as a new learning, as something, something that you have got a value out of. More focus, with sports and with art forms, or a passion or an instrument learning. There's a lot of other things that are coming into the scenario, like you're increasing your memory, you're increasing your focus, you're increasing your sharpness, your agility, all that, your health, all that is getting, added on, which will help you in your personal self later on. So this is something that I thought I definitely would like to emphasize. Push yourself now. Now, this slide, I come to this slide of talking about everyday courage. I can get a few students to talk about this particular picture that I have put. Do the students know the background of this? Do any of you know the background of this? Can the host unmute the students?
Actually, even if they are muted, they cannot participate in the dialogue process, because they are in this separately. It's only the panelists who can speak. So
Okay.
they'll require a special permission for that.
Okay, all right. Okay, so then I'll talk about this. So I am not a football or a soccer fan. I don't know much about it. But this particular incident was it came in recent news. This is a mural of Marcus Rashford, who missed a penalty in the Euro final, and a lot of angry supporters went and defaced this particular mural, a lot of abusive and racial slurs and things like that. But that's not what I want to talk about. What I want to talk about is that particular line there, which is very, very important. Taking pride in knowing that your struggle will play the biggest role in your purpose. That many times, all of us, even big leaders, are equipped to face with the glories. But a moment something fails, they crumble. They just crumble. They don't know how to handle the crisis. And that's going to be very, very important in both your personal and your professional life. If you're not able to handle the crisis as well as your glories, then it's going to be a big deterrent in your life's success. Why does it happen? Why don't we have that courage? Maybe there is a fear of failures. Maybe they say that self-doubt and insecurities kill dreams more than failure ever did. Self-doubt and insecurities kill your dreams more than a failure ever did. So that is stopping you actually. Your insecurity is stopping you. Self-doubt is stopping you. So I would definitely, I encourage all of you to again work on these insecurities and self-doubt and fear. Address them. It starts with you identifying what's holding you back. What is holding you back? Is it fear of how people would perceive if you say something? Is it a fear of it going wrong and you failing, it being a mistake? What are those fears? What are you? It starts with an introspection of identifying that which is holding you back and addressing them. How do we face them? I have again here, I have seen a lot of times, many times in organizations, in corporate environments, people fear making mistakes. They fear making mistakes. And when it happens, they try to cover it up. They try to cover it up or they pass it on to, somebody else. They don't want to face it. They don't want to address it. Even if you don't want to admit it to the world, your introspection and learning from the event is highly important. And believe me when I say, if you are trying to say that, trying to cover up and passing it on to somebody, the process of learning never happens. That mistake is definitely bound to happen again. But if you address it, hey, this is a mistake that I have done, and you work to correct it, it will never happen again. So have courage to face the failures, embrace the mistakes, address those concerns. What is that self-limiting behavior that is happening? Take that time to introspect and address those things. And let me tell you the good news. The good news is no one is born with courage. Okay, and no one, nor does it take exceptional characteristics to have that. It is developed. This is a characteristic that is developed. And if there is anything that I have learned important in my life, in both my personal and my professional life, is that courage is actually a decision. It is a decision that you're taking. Hey, today I will stop the self-limiting behavior. Today I will stop fearing the consequences. Today I will stop tolerating this emotional abuse on myself. That is what courage is. It is a decision. So introspect, take time. I mean, there are a lot of leaders. This young man is a good example, and there are so many others that around us who are teaching lessons of courage. Look at that, learn from that, and work on yourself. So I come to the next one. Me being in the space of food and nutrition, I wanted to talk about diet, but here not the diet for a food plan, but your mental diet. Your diet is not only what you eat. Okay, your diet is not only what you eat. It is what you watch, it's what you listen to, it's what you read, the people you are around with. All these are important. When we talk about a well-being of a person, it involves both mind and body. And when it's body, it's physical exercise and it's your food, the nutrition that's going in. When we're talking about mind, it's a lot of things. It's your spiritual, your mental, your emotional quotient. All those things are involved in your mental diet. So what are you feeding your mind with? What are you reading every day? What are the internet can work two ways. The internet can be very distressing. You take up social media pages, it can be very stressing. It can be triggers to a lot of things that affect our mind. But also, I have learned so many wonderful things. I have seen, I kickstart my day with positive stories. I've read beautiful quotes. Sometimes some of them have given me more strength and guidance than what my parents or my teachers also did. I have had that experience. I have had that from books and from the net. So it can be a source of encouragement and positivity and, something that will enable you to be a better person. And it is important that you filter out anything that is hindering your growth. And you have that time. Again, I would want to emphasize, because you have that time with you now. You start early, it helps you late. It helps you in your mental well-being later on. It helps you, it equips you to feel, to address the previous things that we spoke about. You're addressing your blocks or obstacles or challenges in life. All these things will help you in addressing those failures and risks and opportunities and challenges. Very, very important. There's a very important line that says, what we think determines what we believe. What we believe determines how we feel, and the way we feel influences how we are going to act. So you see how our actions are actually starting out with the mind. The mind is actually a very, very powerful tool, and we have the power to control it. We have the power to control it. There are a lot of external factors, of course, environment, the place, upbringing, a lot of things are there that are affecting it. But the good news again here is that we have the power in us to control our mind, to decide what is good for us and what is not good for us. We have that. And see how what I just said, how a thought leads to a belief system leads to your behavior, how you start feeling, and how you start feeling is how you are acting. So look at that process, how it happens. So it's very, very, it all starts with the mind, and it starts with us addressing the needs of our mind in a positive way. Now, I go to the next one, success, okay, which is my last slide actually for the day. Many times, I think at all of us, like I said, these are the crossroads that we are in when we are finishing college, or we think, oh, we have come to learn a master in business administration. It's a very, very nice course, or whatever profession that you are choosing. And hey, I'm entitled to jobs. I'm entitled to a good, successful life. I'm entitled to it because I'm paying for this valued course in a very good institution. And many times we also equate success to, when I talk to people and I talk to youngsters, success is always equated to money. Right? I want to make this much. I want to start a business. I want this much. Now, money is important, but there is more. There is beyond money. Success goes beyond money. Now, this is why I spoke about this. Is when I was having that interaction with some students, and one of the students who was my trainee and who is now in a very, very good job. He's in a very good job, in a good position. We were talking about this particular topic, and he left a message in the conversation, but I still haven't figured out how much of money would ever be enough. That's an important line. How much of it is going to make you happy? How much of it is really going to help say that, okay, this much of it earned makes me successful? How much is it? That question is a big question. So success, I would say, goes beyond, monetary things. It's important. Money is important. It helps us manifest a lot of wishes for ourselves. It gives us, sometimes it gives us more peace. It enables, it's going to help in you creating your life as a family and what you want for your future, for your children's future. Yes, no doubt. But it is not the only thing. It goes beyond that. And successful people work on these particular things that I've listed. They develop and maintain a positive attitude, relationship building. It's so important in our lives, whether it is a friend, or whether it is your spouse, whether it is your parents, anything. Building good relationships at work is very, very important in our success in life. The next one is having a sense of direction and purpose. It's also extremely important in being successful. The fact that I volunteer to take up talks, though I'm a food science professional, I'm a food technology professional, my area of domain is work, but I love interacting with students. And I don't think I have ever said, no, when people come up and say, why don't you talk? I don't recall an incident where I have said no, because I find a lot of gratification in this, and I feel this is also my purpose and calling, that I can deliver something what I have learned in my professional and personal journey to somebody else. And if it makes an impact, I would be extremely happy, and I would feel rewarding. So having a sense of direction, what all can you contribute, not just for yourself, to others in your life, for your job, for your organization, for your institution, for your family, and for yourself. Very, very important. So having a sense of direction and purpose in life is extremely important. Have that strong desire to learn. Be open-minded. I don't think you will reach even the greatest leaders of, the greatest philosopher Socrates has also been open to learning. He has also said no, I have obtained everything that I need to know. No, all of them were always open to learning new things and acquiring more knowledge. So have that strong desire to learn. I don't think there ever comes an age where you know it all. Today, even at my area, I graduated a long time ago, maybe like it's about 20 years ago. And a lot of things have changed from my curriculum then, right? So I can't work with those outdated knowledge skills that I learned in back then in 1995. I have got to equip myself with the current trends. So there is a 10-minute of learning that I do every day. I spend 10 minutes of time just reading newsletters, business, the articles related to your food industry or anything. Just spend 10 minutes learning there's so many things, certifications that were not there when I graduated, but are there now. So I try to bring them in, and you don't have to always rely on yourself. You can also co-learn it with somebody, bring in someone who has that knowledge and you learn from them. That can also happen. So, but keep yourself open to learning. Learning it's a continual, they say in our quality certifications, we have this jargon called continual learning, continual improvement. It's you learn something, you reach a particular step, and then once you've established yourself there, you go on to the next step by again progressing your learning gradually. So have that process of continual improvement in your life and keep yourself open to learning. Be action oriented. Maintain high standards in your personal conduct. This will definitely also help you in the first slide that we talked about, carving your niche. This will definitely help you how to stand apart from others. So maintain high standards in your personal and professional conduct. And the key thing, which if you talk to any of the people who have really been successful in life, is that they have understood the difference between existing and living. All of them would have focused on the latter part, living. It's not just a routine 9 to 5 thing that we're looking for in life. We want to live as well. We want to experience everything that life has in store for us. Or you youngsters have this phrase, all of you have this phrase, YOLO, right? You only live once. That's a phrase that you use. And I would say, yes, that's true. We live only once, so make the best of it. Make the best of it and use, try to not just go through life by just merely doing something dreary and monotonous and something that's just, like something very mundane, but exciting and enriching. And that makes your life worth living. So on that note, I'd like to end my talk with all of you, and we can open it out for questions.
Definitely, ma'am. We have questions from our students.
Yes. So I hope the conversation has added some value to the group, and I hope.
Definitely. It was entirely, totally a piece. Much different from, the other topics that we had so far.
So I'll open it out for interaction. The students can interact with me, and we can have conversation. We can make it interactive.
Definitely, we would love to do that. Provided our systems department to cooperate. I don't know what is the technical barrier in that particular.
Oh, is there? They can put it in the chat box if you want.
Definitely, we have. So it will be routed through the panelists. So straight away, I have a question from the undergraduate stream. Well, it's pretty tricky. I mean, the question is that you mentioned a person need to be solution oriented. So does it mean if you don't have a solution to pose, you don't need to question?
No, you need to question. You need to question because through questioning come answers. That's a different thing. But don't, what I meant is don't be the problem seeker. Don't come out with problems and say this is a problem statement. Don't complain. Be part of the solution. Hey, this is a fix, this is a glitch. What are ways, how can we solve it? Work around those things. But questioning, and that's totally different. You definitely should raise question, and through questions come debate, through debates come conversations, and through conversations come the answers, right? But what if no one is addressing the answers? And this again is something that happens many times in organizations where people just keep posting issues. And management is really not interested in listening to issues. Why have they hired you if you're going to just keep listening to issues? But how are we going to fix those issues? We had there was a very interesting HR initiative that we did some time back. It was called, the initiative was called Avaz. Okay, so where anyone could come out with answers. Anybody from the organization could come out with answers for any problems that are existing, and there was a box where they could go and put it. They could put those answers there. Because sometimes people don't want to speak out because they fear that whether this idea sounds silly or this sounds ridiculous, so they don't want to sit. It may not work, fine, but don't be scared to say it out, voice it out.
Definitely, that is something that even we could try in our campus.
Yes, I think you should. See, I would actually very much encourage the institution. We are preparing future leaders, and future leaders we have to build their mental mind, their how much of that ecosystem also needs to be built. How are they equipped to deal with crisis and situations? That also has to happen. I think institutions play a big role. Parenting plays a big role. I would love to associate with you all if you have any, place where we could have such conversations.
Definitely, we'll have. Madam, shall we have another question? That's again from the undergraduate stream. You mentioned that we need to stretch ourselves out of the comfort zone. How long can a person stay out of the comfort zone?
Very important question, and it's an interesting question. Again, I think this is not saying yes to everything. You accept too much also can lead to stress, right? You accept too many things can also push you beyond a point where it leads to stress. So that is a discretion that you have to use for your personal self. If you're going to say, and especially, we go up the corporate ladder, when we take up senior leadership positions, as much as it is important of saying yes in your early stages, at that point, there's an art of also saying no. Learning to say no. This is all that I can take, and beyond this is not good for me. Right, what works for you, and beyond what it is causing a stressor. That for yourself. So don't push yourself beyond that limit. But comfort zone is something that we are like we are keeping a lot of cushions for us. We're keeping a lot of. Today the weather is we are making excuses for ourselves. Today the weather is not okay. It's little drizzling outside, so I'm not exercising today. That cushioning that you're giving, where you feel, yeah, hey, I can push myself. I can do it. You can push yourself a little there. That's what I'm talking about. That's the the leniences that you may need to work around with. And many times we also say that, yeah, procrastination. We say, that naale never comes, right? That tomorrow never comes. And procrastination is also a big, and it's an assassin for opportunities. So I think that is also, those are things that we're trying to work within comfort zones. We're trying to fix a lot of cushions for ourselves. And this is true. These things I've seen, and I sometimes it makes me restless when I see people. Why don't you go that extra mile? Why do you condition yourself to say, hey, this is all that I can do or I will do. This is what I'm called for. This is all that I'll do. Why? Why do you create that boundary? Why don't you go that extra mile? In that extra mile is where it's separating you from an average to an expert, to an excellent person. That road is where less competition is there. This road where you're having a lot of cushions, plenty of people are there. But you want to take to that space where the competition is less, where that the space of experts, the space of that top cream. So why don't you go that extra mile? And it'll definitely add you value.
So I think the question posed by the student is a bit different. I mean, for example, for the examination purpose, the students keep every excuses apart, stretch themselves, push themselves, and go the extra mile, do
Okay.
it brilliantly for the examination. Once the examinations are over, they again come back to the comfort zone. So the question is, how long one can retain oneself in this comfort? I mean, out of the comfort zone. There's every possibility to come back to the comfort zone once a particular milestone has been achieved.
Yes, most definitely. I mean, that's even like part of your, like, I would say it's part of your work-life balance also you're doing, right? Sometimes when there are situations where I'm very stretched at work. There is a lot of travel, there's a lot of meetings. Uh, Now, after I come back, there are sometimes where I worked back to back, there's no break. Maybe sometimes audits are fixed during the weekends, so I'll be working continuous. But I consciously take a break after that to connect with the family, to connect with things that I've missed out. That's important. And then you switch back. It is extremely important. But when we talk about comfort zone, it's about, your daily things which you're pushing off, saying that, hey, I'm not going to, apart from your exams, like for students, apart from your exams and studies, are you pushing yourself for any personal learning? Are you pushing yourself for extra reading, for exercising? You have a beautiful campus. Is there something that you're doing? Is there some podcast that you're listening to? That's what I'm talking about. Not just your focus, your academics. What are we doing for our personal development? I honestly I'm telling you, youngsters, we all think, and I went through that myself too. We think we have a lot of time in our hands, right? We have a lot of time in our hands. That's what we think. And then we reach a particular phase in life when we say, oh my God, that we don't have enough time. Today, I wish I read. I used to read, but I wish I'd read a lot more because I don't have the time now. Sometimes I don't have the time to catch up with on reading. So when you have the time in hand, what does an extra 5 minute or a 10 minute take if you're going to just replace or you're just listening to a podcast instead of listening to songs? I love listening to music and you should too. But if we can replace 5 minutes of that with a podcast and you have the generation today is extremely blessed. We didn't have access like this of learning. We only had the library, right? We had to go and take notes. We had the library. We had to go. We couldn't borrow books. Today you have PDF books available for you online. You can download it. You don't even have to pay sometimes for books. There's so much of access to you. Make use of it.
Once again, I have it may be a bit personal, but again, it's something that you have mentioned. You mentioned that you went for Kathak at a later stage for a
Yes.
change. The question is, why not Bharatanatyam, Kuchipudi, or Mohiniyattam?
Yeah, I liked Kathak. It started out with seeing a particular performance, and I was very attracted to the grace in the dance. I was attracted to the grace of that particular dancer. It was a video that I saw on the internet, and I thought, why don't I learn? And this was, I'm telling you, last August. And I started searching the social media for institutions where they offer classes. And I found this institution where they said they'll offer. And I remember calling them and saying, I'm in my late 40s. You think I'll be able to learn? And they were very open. They were very open to training and learning. And I'm enjoying myself now. And I said, all these things actually are, it's more than just a drill of, doing something for as a hobby. There's a lot of benefits that are coming. There is focus that's coming. There is creativity that is coming. There you're pushing yourself. You're pushing yourself at my age, being nimble, swift, and turning, and it's a challenge. But I'm pushing myself. So yes, I actually I'm very interested in all dance forms, but this particularly thing fascinated me, and that is why I chose it.
Great. I think we too should try something like that.
Yeah, anything that cheers your soul. It can be sports, it can be anything. And I have seen actually a lot of people take to art now. Art can be very therapeutic. You don't need to be. Do you know that sculpture is being taught online today? Sculpture, where we thought that, we have to go to a workshop, we have to go somewhere. That's being taught online today.
Actually, we do conduct a lot of workshops over here on campus.
That's
I mean,
great.
latitude spaces and a lot of workshops. I mean, weekly workshops.
Very good. Wonderful.
And we do have the loom, pottery, etching, all that on campus itself.
Is it for the design students or open to all?
Open to all, even for the MBA students, because the multidisciplinary interactions would help the management students as well as the architecture students all together.
That is
That is
wonderful.
the perception of education that we do.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Madam, actually, one more thing you mentioned is difference between existing and living. Actually, it reminded me of a quote that, I mean, it's not quote, actually, one friend of mine at much earlier told me, look, dear, we are not living, we are just surviving.
Exactly.
So, can you elaborate a bit more on that? How can we make it living? I mean, it's still, I mean, even it feels it's surviving. But, this is not how one would have lived.
Yeah, I think that's the debate of being successful. How have I been with my children? How have I been with my relationships around me? What is the point if we've gone through life, having 4 cars, having a villa, a huge villa, and if something else is like terribly broken, right? Or what if the cost of making money is bringing us BP, right? What if this whole thing of me working 24 hours and not making me accessible to going out for an exercise, going out for leisure, going out for a connecting with people, but it is bringing some lifestyle disease for me? How is it helping? So that's where we need to, I think, feed our soul, feed our minds, feed our bodies, balance both. Balance, work is important, money is important, but at the same time, a lot of other things are important. So prioritizing, and it is something personal. It's each one has a different aspiration in life, right? For each person, it's different. Somebody may be spiritually inclined, somebody may be musically inclined, somebody may be, artistically inclined. I think you need to channelize and find your balance in whatever those things. For me, these are the things, and I think I've always been on I have had that creative streak in me, love for art forms. I'm sitting right now in my art room, actually, in the house, because there's no power, and this was the only place that had access to a plug point with power. So I'm sitting here in my art room. You can see the background. This is where I unwind. It's not that I'm a professional artist, but I do like painting and drawing, and I spend my time unwinding here. When I'm not working. Uh, that's how that balance is come, and it gives peace to the soul.
So you mean we need to find a priority area within the life where we would live.
Yes.
The remaining area will survive.
Yeah, a balance probably between both. A balance, because certain things we need, right? certain things we need. You need a job. We can't say, hey, I'll just travel around the world and that doesn't work. We need to have both.
Definitely fantastic, Manav. It's been really intriguing, and actually, we don't have time enough. Otherwise, definitely we would have stretched it far. So, just because of the shortage of time, I would like to hand over the mic to once again Ms. Geetika Susan Jacob.
Thank you.
It was an amazing session we had today. I welcome Jamie and Johnson, student of DCS Math, for vote of thanks.
Ma'am, I'm audible?
Yeah, you're audible, Jamie.
Thank you. A very warm good morning to one and all.
Jamie, you seem to have
Those
some
who
network
work-
issues.
Sir, am I audible
Yeah,
now?
it's clear. It's clear.